Shawn Brown got 6 bullets in the face from the gang that killed him, a crude attempt to obliterate him.
It was virtually wiping out the form of a being. The ferocity of that attack was unbelievable.
Tonight on Crimewatch, who shot Shawn Brown?
Hello and welcome to Crimewatch. More than 30 detectives are here from all across the country to take your calls.
Even by the standards of 30 years of violence in Northern Ireland, the murder of Shawn Brown was beyond the pale. One local described Shawn as the Nelson Mandela of his community.
He was murdered 8 years ago near his hometown of Bellaghy. Another local happens to be the Nobel Prize-winning poet, Seamus Heaney.
Shawn was a strong person in every way, physically strong, temperamentally, morally strong. As they say in Northern Ireland, there were no back doors in him. He's very direct. In a noxious time, Shawn was a cleansing element that we could ill afford to lose.
Seamus Heaney with words that do Shawn Brown justice. That could not be said of the original search for his killers. But now, with your help, the new police service of Northern Ireland wants to put past errors right. It's been 8 years since Shawn Brown was beaten unconscious in Bellaghy, kidnapped, then murdered 12 miles away. The Royal Ulster Constabulary began inquiries, believing this was the work of the Loyalist Volunteer Force. But mistakes were made, evidence was overlooked, important documents disappeared. An independent review damned the investigation's failures. The job had not been properly done. 8 years on, a new team of detectives has started again from scratch. Everyone in Bellaghy knew Shawn Brown. He worked at Ballymena Technical College and was chairman of the Wolfe Tones Gaelic Athletic Club. He was big on work and on sport. Politics was not his scene.
My father, he worked with both Catholics and Protestant students. He wasn't politically minded in any way. He ran the football club, which is a Catholic organisation. Anything he was run to bring in the other side of the community, the Protestant community.
The day before Shawn Brown was killed, 2 local teams went hard at each other on the Bellaghy ground. Outside the main entrance, a witness saw a white Vauxhall Nova. In it, a woman and 2 men. It may well have been a recce for what was to happen the next night. On the Monday, preparations for another match were underway. The Wolfe Tones were taking on Banagher, and Shawn Brown Jr. was there to help out.
OK, Dad, I'll put the netting on the goals.
Right, son.
Eugene Call wants to know what time the meeting's at tonight.
9:30 after the game.
OK, I'll call him and let him know.
Oh, yeah!
The Wolfe Tones won. By 9:30 p.m, the usual Monday night committee meeting was underway.
Yeah, there's some potholes out there, and they're as big as craters. The visiting team is going to fall on one of them, and we'll never find them for a week.
The meeting ended around 11:30 p.m. Shawn and his son were the last to leave for home, a 2-minute drive away. Shawn Jr. went on ahead. His dad stayed back to close the gate.
Come on, get off me! Get the boot.
Hi, Mum.
And how'd it go?
Oh, it was a great game.
Yeah?
They turned it around in the second half, won easy.
The gang made off in a 3-car convoy. Shawn Brown's fingers had been broken as he tried to protect himself. His skull was fractured, but he was probably still alive.
what's Keaton. Daddy should be back by now. Yes, maybe I'll take a spin around and see where he is.
Yes, do that.
The convoy sped towards Randalstown on the Hillhead Road.
Is he back yet?
No.
I went round, there's no sign of him, there's no sign of his car. The car park's empty.
Where would it be to this time of night?
I don't know, I mean, the gate's still open at the club. Shall I go out and have another look?
No. Go on, you up to bed.
They drove straight past the RUC police station at Toome Bridge. Shawn's car registration was recorded here at 11:41, 9 minutes after he'd set the alarm back at the club. At the old Moneynick Road on the outskirts of Randalstown, they turned off and drove up to a field. They shot Shawn Brown 6 times in the face. A passer-by saw the fire and called the police.
A man in his 60s shot 6 times directly in the face. How can anyone justify an action like that?
The tradition here is to leave the lid of the coffin open for the people to pay their last respects. With my father being shot 6 times in the head, we felt it was our duty to leave the lid of the coffin open. It was very harrowing for the family, and I'm sure it was for anybody that was coming to the wake to pay their respects.
We have had a terrible course in reality over the last 3 decades. What we might hope for is the initiation of a period of justice. And to initiate that period, nothing could be brighter and more beautiful than some kind of justice for the loss of Shawn Brown's life.
In God's name, help to bring closure to this case. If you know anything, please bring it forward to the police and bring some of the agony of the Brown family to an end.
A new reopened and reinvigorated inquiry into this with a new investigating officer in charge of it, Detective Superintendent Patrick Steele. And that woman in that white car is obviously an important clue that the day before it looked very much as though that was a reconnoitre for the murder.
It's a critical line of inquiry for us, Nick. We have the CD fit of the woman. We want to identify any witnesses who may have seen a woman resembling that CD fit, either in the run-up to the murder, the night before the murder, or on the night of the murder in Balachi or the surrounding area.
In her car, do you think? I mean, it was clearly a white Vauxhall Nova. It wasn't burned out, so presumably it wasn't stolen.
Well, we believe the white Nova is central to the murder of Shawn Brown. We have a white Nova seen outside the GAA club the night before. We have a white Nova seen there on the night of the murder, and we have a small white car seen exiting the actual murder scene. The 2 other vehicles, Mr. Brown's vehicle and the Vauxhall Cavalier, believed involved in the murder, were both burnt. This one wasn't. History in Northern Ireland would lead us to believe that means that it actually belonged or was owned by someone involved in the murder or someone very close to them.
Now, you think you know pretty much who did this, and you think that Swinger Fulton, his real name is Mark, a prominent member of the UVF who's now dead, yes, was one of the gang responsible for the murder.
Mark Fulton was a very significant suspect in this inquiry. As you say, he is now dead. What's significant is he was sighted at Tannockmore filling station, which is very close to the murder scene and very far away from where he lives, the day after the murder. Even more significant, he was with another male. We'd like to know who that male is.
So you think you know pretty much who these people are, but in order to get prosecution, you're going to need help from the loyalist community. Are you getting that?
We're getting some. We're getting help from both sides of the community. This appeal is direct to the loyalist community to give us more help. That's where the killers came from. Those are the people we want to hear from. Are you
close? I mean, could a single call tonight actually turn this inquiry for you?
The right call could turn this case.
OK, well, let's get that right call, please. Let me emphasise, all calls here to the studio are confidential and they are untraceable. 0500 600 600. It's free. There are Crimewatch staff here as well as police detectives, and obviously it's always far more helpful if you're prepared to give your name and contact details, but whatever you're prepared to do, please help if you can. The incident room's also staffed up tonight. That's on 028 7939 9545.
Still to come on Crimewatch, another hate crime. This one resulted in a fire that killed Kerry Youngs in Harlow, and Kerry's dad wants some answers.
I want you, the person who's done this, do us a favour. Come forward and let us have our Kerry back.
Well, stay with us to see if you can help Gary Youngs find the arsonist who killed his daughter. Nearly 400 miles away in Erskine near Glasgow, another set of parents are grieving the violent loss of another daughter in her 20s. 1979. A little girl and her brother filmed by their family. The girl is nearly 2. Her name is Emma Caldwell. 25 years on, she's remembered as a 60-foot projection on council flats in the Gorbals. Emma's world had fallen apart so dramatically. This was the only way Strathclyde police could find out more about her secret life and her violent death.
Oh, and she was a lovely child, full of fun and just magical child. Loved horses. We had a thing in the family and she used to say, "What would you like, Emma?" And she'd say, "A horsey, a horsey." And we would say, "When would you like a horsey?" "Right now I'd like a horsey." She was just a happy child, happy. We had a very happy life.
But Emma's life started to unravel when her sister Karen, sitting on the left, was diagnosed with cancer.
The following year, Karen died. I don't think Emma ever realised that anything like that could happen to you. That's what really Emma couldn't understand.
Emma found it hard to cope, but her boyfriend had an answer.
She said that she'd told him all her problems, and he had said, "I know something to take the pain away. This will take the pain away."
Her mum said, "What's wrong? You look dreadful, Emma. What's up?"
She was really upset. And she said, "I'm a heroin addict." And we just couldn't believe it.
We didn't know what to do.
Oh, it was just awful. Just awful. Our lovely daughter.
Emma moved to Glasgow and eventually settled into a women's hostel in Govan Hill. Though she tried to get into rehab, she became more and more dependent on the drugs. The heroin transformed her. It became clear for all to see.
We were rather naive about it.
Yes, we were.
We had absolutely no idea how much Emma was using, and we weren't aware what Emma was doing to earn that money. Emma chose a way that only harmed Emma.
Uh-huh.
Emma would sometimes work the Glasgow Green area. But more often than not, she'd be found on Cadogan and Wellington streets in the city centre.
I wish she could have confided in me. More than anything, I wish she had told us. I really, really wish she had told us.
And if Emma had told us about the major problem she had, I would just have brought Emma home.
Taken her in her arms and brought her home where she belonged. It wouldn't have mattered to us. She was our daughter and we loved her no matter what. No matter what anyone thinks or anyone says about her. She was our child, our beautiful daughter, and we loved her.
Emma worked most nights to feed her habit. The hostel in Govanhill bristles with CCTV cameras, and just before 11 on a Monday night in April, they picked her up for the final time. More cameras outside recorded a chance encounter. 2 important witnesses spoke to her and may know where she planned to go or who she planned to meet. One was wearing a hooped top. Who are they? Emma turned into Butterbiggins Road and vanished. 5 weeks later, 40 miles south of Glasgow, in the Lanarkshire Hills.
As you will be aware, the body of a female was found in a very remote area in South Lanarkshire. We identified that female as Emma Caldwell, a 27-year-old missing person. I spoke to the family yesterday afternoon and gave them the news that no parent should really ever have to hear.
To lose one daughter is unthinkable. It's a terrible experience. And you think, nothing like this could ever happen to me in my life again. This is as bad as it's ever going to be, to lose your child. And now Emma.
Well, your heart goes out to Emma's family, doesn't it, for all the trouble they've had to bear. But there are lots of ways viewers can help on this. The killer could be a drug dealer, he could be a regular client of Emma's, or possibly a visitor to Glasgow. Let's piece together what we know about the killer. He was in Glasgow on the night of Monday, the 4th of April. That's the Monday after the weekend that the Pope died. He's got a car, and he knows the area near Roberton in Lanarkshire, where Emma's body was found. It is somebody who's taken other prostitutes there. His behaviour may well have changed around this time. Looking at papers and television, particularly local papers in Scotland that are highlighting the case, you may have noticed something odd. His behaviour may have changed around that time. Now, Detective Superintendent Willie Johnson is leading this investigation. We saw on the CCTV there, Willie, a number of witnesses you want to speak to. In particular, first of all, those 2 people who appear to be walking past Emma that night and may have been talking to her.
We do know there was some interaction between these 2 individuals and Emma. One of them is most certainly a male who's wearing a very distinctive hoop top, which you've seen on the piece.
Might have been a Celtic top, might not have been, can't be sure.
We're unsure of the colour. However, our extensive door-to-door investigations near that scene have failed to reveal the identities of these individuals. I would ask anyone who knows who these individuals are, or the individuals themselves, to call us tonight.
And then there was a light BMW 3 Series car, again seen there. Now, you don't think this person is a suspect, but might have information. Look, we can see it on the CCTV there coming into frame.
Yeah, we do know, Fiona, that vehicle appeared into Inglefield Street from Butterbiggins Road around the time that Emma turned that corner. So we do think that it's important that we trace the driver of that vehicle, who may have seen something vital for the investigation.
I mean, the key thing is here, she was walking from her hostel in Govanhill, walking towards the city centre. We don't know how far she got. So any witnesses who might have seen her on that walk, and she was wearing a coat exactly the same as this one. It's like it's a kind of fake sheepskin coat, denim coat, which has never been found, has it?
No, we sourced this jacket, which is an exact copy right down to colour, from China in order for the piece tonight. That jacket is missing together with Emma's dark leather handbag.
That's right, because we can see that there. And the coat and the bag have never been found. What about prostitutes in the area? I know you've talked to a lot of prostitutes during this investigation, but there's still some you'd like to come forward, aren't there?
We have spoken to a large number of prostitutes, but we are aware that there are a small number who may have gone to the Abington service station, where there is a hotel, for sexual purposes. I would ask any prostitute who has not yet spoken to us to contact us tonight.
I mean, whoever's done this, it's likely, isn't it, that we're assuming it's a he, we don't know, will have talked to someone about this.
I think it probable that the person responsible will have mentioned to somebody, or has in some way shown adverse reaction to some press coverage of the case. And these are the people that I would wish to contact us tonight. I have seen, and people have seen tonight, the pain on the faces of Emma's parents, and they have said that she was introduced to drugs in order to take pain away. We need the call tonight that will take the pain away from her parents and give justice for Emma.
Okay, well, let's hope we can do that tonight. Put all the pieces of those clues together. Remember, this person may be local to the area. The Roberton, where Emma was found, is not that far from the north of England, so it maybe came from England. Most likely to have had some kind of transport, a car, a truck, a van, something like that. Put it all together. Call us here. The number's always on the screen, or there's the instant room on 0141 532 4943.
Let's bring you up to date with progress since last month's Crimewatch. You'll have seen in the news how the Abigail's Witchell case has been making rather slow progress. There was one apparently very exciting call to Crimewatch, particularly exciting one. That has now been discounted, but others have helped with background information. Police are now preparing a file to submit to the Crown Prosecution Service.
More progress elsewhere, though. Just a few hours after last month's programme, Simon Casolo handed himself in. He was charged with 5 counts of sexual assault on 4 different men.
Back in March, we showed CCTV of a gang of teenagers carrying out what looked like a violent robbery on a bus in Watford. Again, as a direct result of the programme, one of the suspects handed himself in. 2 more have been arrested.
Also in March, we featured the robbery of 76-year-old Gwen Knitter. As a direct result of your calls, a man has been arrested and charged with robbery and GBH. Sadly, Gwen has since died.
Darren Hogan was wanted for GBH on a baby. We saw his face in our April programme, and several key calls came into Crimewatch on the night. He has since been arrested.
Following CCTV shown in April's programme, a man's been arrested on suspicion of a series of thefts from a pensioner in Hertfordshire. We had 20 calls and almost all of them named the man arrested.
And thanks to Crimewatch viewers, Joseph Rees is doing 100 hours of community service and a 1-year rehabilitation programme because of his credit card frauds in Newcastle on Tyne. Viewers led to police to his arrest on Merseyside. He pleaded guilty last month.
Now, with more TV from the streets and another chance to see if there's anyone you know doing anything they shouldn't. Here's DC Rav Wilding.
But these criminals caught on camera still need to be caught for real. A jeweller's in Maidstone, February the 10th. This violent trio intimidates staff before lifting 3 trays worth £60,000. The owner is knocked down as he tries to stop them. They make off in a white Mercedes Sprinter van with distinctive Red Star logos. Here they are, but tell us who they are. This betting shop burglar's got patience by the bucket load. Out go the lights. He even sweeps up the glass. He swept up over £70,000 raiding 30 bookie safes across London and Essex in the last year. Every time he breaks the lights and floods the floor. Now watch this. This face has a £10,000 reward attached. Gotcha. He's a big bloke, 6'4" and possibly 18 stone. But who is he? This CCTV in Port Talbot, South Wales is homing in on a credit card crook. He's spotted using stolen or cloned cards to drain money out of other people's accounts. At least £2,000. A police patrol pulls up, but he does a runner. Can you tell us who he is or where he is? This was a peaceful church in London's Ludgate Hill until this bloke took a pew. He gets up to follow a church volunteer, pulls a knife and robs him. The volunteer's partner runs to help but gets viciously kicked to the floor. And all of this for a £5. Here's your man after the assault. He's got very light black skin. Do you recognise him? Do us all a favour. Don't let them get away with it. Call us here. Number's free and it's always on the screen.
Last month, someone started a fire in a flat in Harlow in Essex. It's no consolation to the families of Kevin Chappell and his girlfriend Kerry Youngs that the couple almost certainly weren't the intended targets. But targets are what Kerry and Kevin most surely became.
A petrol bomb attack on this flat.
Rescuers reached 24-year-old Kerry Youngs. Both she and Kevin Chappell.
A young woman has died after a fire in a block of flats in Essex.
I want You, person who's done this, do us a favour. Come forward and let us have our Kerry back.
Police emergency. What's your name, please?
It's Kevin.
Kevin, your surname?
Chapel. I'm at number 8 Sherwood House. I think a petrol bomb has been thrown through the flat below. All the flats on fire.
You still in the building?
Well, we just want to get out now. We're just calling you.
Have you called fire, Kevin?
Yes, we have, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
On the Wednesday night, Kevin Kerry came round here to my house for a cup of coffee. They left here about 5 to 10 to go back to Kerry's flat, which they never normally did. They normally stayed at Kevin's, you see, but his heating had broke. So they actually stayed at my sister's flat.
It was freezing. Oh.
They was a bit apprehensive about letting me know about them two getting together, which, when I discovered, you know, how could I have a problem with it? He's one of my best friends, and she's my sister.
Kerry hated living in that flat. She just didn't feel very safe. No safe at all.
He loved being with his family, he loved being with his friends, and everyone enjoyed being with him. Kevin was very happy with Kerry, and we really believed they would stay together. I just thought they were perfect for each other.
Babe, do you want some toast?
No, I'm all right, thanks. She was bright, bubbly, she loved her shopping and she liked going out with her friends. Friends she'd known since infant school, you know. She just loved life, Kerry.
Why?
Oh,
You said you didn't want any.
that's right.
So greedy.
Downstairs, someone was up to no good. Neighbours heard a racket down by the bins, and one even shouted at them to stop.
Oi! What are you doing?
Someone had set a fire. Eventually, the heat was so intense it blew out the windows of the downstairs flat. The blast was heard around the corner.
What was that? It's downstairs, and there's a fire.
What? Oh my God!
I'm at number 8 Sherwood House. I think a petrol bomb has been thrown through the flat below.
I've got a mate in that block.
We heard the sound of breaking glass, and that's when I thought maybe the factories were getting broken into.
Yeah. Yeah, push there, Sherwood House. Yeah. Yeah.
It's Kevin. Kevin Chapel. OK. Come on, let's get out of here.
I kept trying to get into the flats, but the smoke and the actual heat of the actual fire was just too overwhelming. It just pushed me back out every time.
Yes, Jet, top left. Mickey, above your head, there.
We couldn't use the central staircase as there was fire in the stairwell, so anybody that was in the flats wouldn't be able to come out the regular way. There was a lot of heat, a lot of smoke coming out of the flat that was on fire and affecting the rest of the building.
Keep going, mate. Yeah, good. Yeah, up there.
But particularly the flat directly above, which is where Kevin and Kerry were. Unfortunately, because of where they was, they suffered greatest from it, and due to the smoke and the smoke inhalation, they was both unconscious when we found them.
I got to the hospital the Thursday morning and met James there, and we both went up to the ICU to see Kerry. She was in a pretty bad way on a life support.
I'm afraid on the Friday after that, Kerry passed away.
Kevin has sustained serious brain damage. We need all the prayers we can get, and we need a miracle because the doctors can't do any more than they already have. The doctors and nurses have done absolutely everything, and I just can't imagine my life without him.
30 people evacuated, 9 injured, police and ambulance crew among them. Kevin still fighting for his life, and Kerry dead. All this, and the target was a vulnerable resident who wasn't even there.
We know that Kerry and Kevin weren't the intended victims of the fire. The fire actually started here in the flat below. Now, the occupant of this flat had actually been intimidated by local youth and had moved out about 3 days before because of that intimidation. And we actually know that on the day of the fire itself, there were people in here mucking around. Someone actually had wet toilet roll thrown at them from the window, and it is essential that he speak to that person. It may seem insignificant, but they may have vital information as to who was present in the flat on the day of the fire itself.
5 hours later, who was it hanging around outside the flat?
Oi! What are you doing?
Shortly after the fire started, 2 teenagers were seen running from the underpass under Southern Way. The first was 6 foot tall with light spiky hair. The second youth was smaller, maybe 5'6", with thick, dark hair. He was wearing a dark blue jacket with white writing on the back. CCTV shows 2 youths running in the opposite direction from the underpass, past Lloyd's TSB. One was wearing a light top, dark trousers and white trainers. The other had dark clothes with a white stripe down the trousers. Can you tell us who they were?
Now, there are 4 or 5 really strong leads here, and this is a really close-knit community, and I'm convinced that somebody has got that information, and now's the time that they need to come forward and let us know who is responsible for the fire.
Well, someone who could help is that man, around 50, we think, who had that wet loo roll thrown at him from the flat where the fire began. He was very tall, 6'3", and balding, wearing a dark blue fleece and blue trousers. What did he see? And who was that teenager by the bins shortly before the fire? 5'8", navy baseball cap, navy tracksuit bottom, single white stripe, look, there you see it, down the leg. And what about those 2 teenagers who were running away through an underpass? One had spiky hair and a bony, spotty face, maybe he's got a mild case of acne. The other had short, thick, scruffy, dark hair. And those aren't sideburns, they look a bit like it, but he's just very gaunt, apparently. His top had pale-coloured writing on the back, possibly saying Nicholson. I bet there are a few people who might know who he is. Police are keen to eliminate these 2 from their inquiries. The incident room number is 01279 641188.
You might be wondering how it was that things in Harlow were allowed to get so bad long before it got to murder. What about the violence and the intimidation that went before it? Well, this is Mike Craig, who's the Chief Constable of Northumbria. His patch, it must be said, is nearer Hadrian's Wall than it is to Harlow. But he's been in the headlines for backing what is called total policing, where coppers crack down on the little things like incivility and yobbery before they get out of hand. Mike, sell the idea to us.
Well, this is about us taking the opportunity to use our neighbourhood policing model to deal with the sort of issues, the signal crimes we call them, that bother people. The graffiti on the walls, the broken bus stop windows, the abandoned cars, the kids hanging around threatening behaviour when you can't even walk to your home at night. And cracking down on that sort of behaviour, because as you see tonight, it can lead ultimately and tragically to the sort of consequences that we've seen. But we believe that, you know, this is a lot of our crime, a huge amount of our crime is this sort of criminal damage and this sort of behaviour. And we're taking this approach of total policing to make sure all my officers can tackle it.
And of course, although what concerns us most, we see in the papers, the sort of crimes that we feature on Crimewatch, the big ones, in real day-to-day life, it's these little crimes, it's the incivility, the worry about whether kids can walk home from the station unmolested. That's something that worries us most.
Absolutely, and that's what the community's been saying to me when I took over Northumbria Police. They were saying, this is what they want me to do something about most, is this sort of disorder, this sort of criminal damage, and that's what we've done.
Now, this is the sort of thing they were doing in New York, isn't it? I mean, people like Bratton and Timoney and so forth, and there it was dubbed zero tolerance. You had no tolerance of the little crimes. If you sorted out the little stuff, you'll find you suppress the big stuff. Have you found that? Are you suppressing crime?
We've certainly, in terms of the criminal damage, we've reduced that by 700 in a month. Now, it's
700 cases?
700 cases, that's 19.5% across a big force area. We've never achieved those sort of levels before by this degree of focus.
And are the bigger crimes falling as well?
We can't tell that yet, but we're going to move on next to a drink-related violence and disorder, our DVD campaign, which will run through the whole of the summer, dealing with youth disorder and the disorder in the city centres that we see so much of, because we believe it's the same people that cause those little problems that lead to the bigger, more serious crimes later on.
You know, you use a footballing analogy, and you say, look, we spend a lot of time in defence. That's the CID, that's the detectives after the crimes have happened. You can't win, though, unless you go out on the attack as well.
Absolutely, Nick, and this is about having a team of defenders, the CID, the investigators, if you like, who deal with the things that have already happened, using the intelligence from that, and then using the new neighbourhood policing teams, the midfield, if you like, the ones who've got the time to stop, to listen, to problem solve with the communities and come up with solutions to local crime.
So you're
put the attackers in, the 24-hour officers who go out hunting for those who commit crime and who commit this low-level disorder. It's integrating all those things together, so the new neighbourhood policing model gives us this golden opportunity to operate in a different way.
Well, you're certainly having a success of it so far. Let's see if other people are going to do that too. Mike, thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick.
OK, well, let's see some zero tolerance for some lesser crimes now. DC Jackie Hames has some promising CCTV, don't you, Jackie? What have you got?
Yes, and very good quality. There's a woman here 4 months ago, Thursday the 17th of February. You can see her here. She's queuing up to take out £7,500 in cash from a NatWest bank in Wellington, Somerset. Just one problem, it's obviously not her money. She gets it via a false passport and false security details and leaves with the cash, as you can see there, in that brown envelope.
Now, she knows she's onto a good thing, doesn't she? Because she comes back an hour later at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, her confidence obviously boosted by her earlier success. This time she walks out with a banker's draft for £45,000 made payable to a finance company in London.
Now, as well as her in the bank, there's another character you're interested in, a guy who just appears to be kind of hanging around. What's he doing there?
Well, we think he's her sidekick because he fits the description of someone seen with the woman the following day when she cashed that banker's draft in London. She's about 5'6" tall, around 40, long brown hair and a heavy build. And he's approximately 6 foot tall, in his late 30s, medium build.
We've got some more CCTV of a bloke we see hanging around Lime Street Station in Liverpool. Looks fairly innocent. It's not quite as innocent as it seems, though, is it?
No. In fact, he's about to rob a Securitas guard at knife point. This is on March the 25th, which was Good Friday. Here we see him actually on the right in blue at the entrance to Lime Street Station. Now just coming up now, is a white man in a black and white
Here he is.
Here he goes. Yeah, Air Max tracksuit. And I think we've got one here, which you can see is actually quite distinctive. It's got stripes on the hood. So if you know him, give us a call because we want to eliminate him from our inquiries.
And what about this character here, the man in blue? What happens next to him?
Yeah, at 12 noon he walks into the station and then comes bolting back out again with the stolen cash books. You can see moving very quickly there.
And there's a stolen getaway car as well, isn't there?
Yeah, he jumps into a silver VW Golf parked at the front of Lime Street Station. Registration number here, FB51FRZ. Now, there are 2 or 3 others already inside the car. We don't know much about them, but the car was stolen the day before from Formby and was later found burnt out in Toxteth. Now, he's 5'7", with light, very short brown hair.
What about this blue fleece? Because that's pretty distinctive, and it seemed to have some writing on the back.
Yeah, this fleece in itself is probably not that unusual, but it had on the front and the back Vision Conservatories and Windows and the telephone number. Now, obviously, the company is not involved, but they would have handed these out to customers. So if that rings a bell.
OK, so someone could recognise that.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we've got a rather opportunistic bit of pickpocketing here.
Yeah, we have. You don't want to fall asleep on the underground next to this man. He's seen here at East London Tube Station about to use 4 credit cards and a mobile, which he's just stolen from a commuter who was asleep on a tube train last month. This happened around midnight on Wednesday, May the 11th. Now, he may do this quite a lot because, in fact, the same guy was seen doing exactly the same thing back in February.
And then once he's got the credit cards, he uses them to buy tube tickets from the machine, as he's doing here.
There he is, you can see him there. This is at East Ham Tube Station. Now, we think from the pictures he's Asian or Mediterranean, of large build and about 6 foot tall.
OK, well, thanks, Jackie. If you recognise any of that lot, give us a call here. The number, as always, 0500 600 600.
Most offenders start small time, as we've heard. That's the basis of the zero tolerance or total policing Mike Craik was talking about earlier. It's, of course, particularly worrying with sex offenders. Cambridgeshire police have now linked as many as 10 offences, and there may be many, many others, each more serious than the last.
St Neots,
the largest town in Cambridgeshire. Police believe for the past 4 years here, one man is responsible for an escalating series of sex offences.
Get out!
Run and see you then!
This man!
You better not.
I won't. Call me when you get home.
Okay, I'll see you Friday at work.
Please leave me a message.
Steph, hi, it's me. Listen, I've just seen this really weird guy on the bridge. Oh, God, no, he's gone. I'm sorry, it's just me being stupid. Listen, call me when you get home, okay? Bye.
Shut up! Get him! Get out of the toilet! Get out of this! Get him off! Get him off! Take him off now! I said take him off! Do it! Do it now! Yeah.
Hello, Steph! Steph, it's me! He's gone, buddy. Can you come? I can't.
Well, this investigation began following the report of 3 sexually motivated offences earlier this year, including this one in January. I then carried out a review of other unsolved sexually motivated crimes, and I now in fact believe there to be 10 linked offences. These offences have taken place in 2 key locations. Firstly, in the west of St Neots, it's around the area of Monarch Road, and then in the east and around the area of Mallard Lane.
The first attack police know of was back in July 2001. Not yet as confident or as aggressive. The man entered a house through an unlocked door, but ran off before he confronted the woman. Then this, just an hour later.
The one thing the attacker has done in all but one of the earlier offences is wait for the victim's partner to leave the house and then hope that the door has been left open.
Run and see you then!
Get out!
Run and see you
Get
then!
out! Get out!
There are many similarities with the attacks. Firstly, with the layout of the house, the man appears to know where he's going. He certainly seems to know the area well, and he's very quick to disappear on foot, we believe. These attacks have all taken place at night, between midnight and 6 a.m. In most attacks, the man has worn some kind of mask over his face, which has hindered us getting a good description. But putting together all of the statements from the victims, we can say that the man is in his early 20s. He's about 5'9", of average build, with dark eyes and short black hair.
As far as we know, the next indecent assault was 2 years later in August 2003. Again, after being disturbed at one house, the attacker found another victim, just 5 minutes away. Wherever he'd been for 2 years, possibly prison, his confidence had clearly grown.
So tell me, what were you doing on the night of the incident?
The girls came round about 8 o'clock. We fancied a girls' night in. It must have been about 12:15 when I finally got to bed. My 11-year-old Millie, she's not been sleeping very well recently, so she slept with me in the bed by the window. I just thought it was my brother Paul popped round to borrow some cigarettes. He lives close by and he's done it several times. I assumed when the eyes disappeared that he'd seen that I was asleep and just left. I was terrified. It was like something out of a horror film. The TV was still on and the light from the screen lit up the room really really clearly.
Take your top off! Take your top off! Hand those! Take them off now! Take it off! Take it off now! Hand those!
I thought I was going to be raped or murdered. And I was so worried about Millie. She was lying next to me.
Take it off now! Get it off! Hand those! Do it!
I don't want to.
Do it now!
I felt degraded and disgusted at what was happening to me. All I kept thinking was, I have got to get out of this nightmare. I'm feeling really faint. Can I open the window?
Go on then!
Can I pick Millie up? She's going to cry in a minute.
Yes!
Right. Just drop down. Just drop down, sweetheart. There you go.
Mum!
No, just stay calm. Mom. I'll be with you in a second. Just stay calm. I'll be with you in a minute, sweetheart. Come on, sweetheart. Carly! Carly! Help! Let me in! Get Millie in. Quick, get Millie in. Get Millie in. There's a man. There's a man out there. He was just there. He was standing there, watching me, stood in the same pose with his legs apart and his fists were clenched.
The most recent offences have been on the 5th of March this year. They both occurred on the same night. In the first instance, the man has gained entry into the house via an insecure door and sexually assaulted the woman. On the second offence, unusually, the man has not tried to gain entry into the house.
I can see you. Move a bit to your right.
Who is this?
Come on, show me. You look very pretty.
I'm going to call the police.
This man is taking more chances. The attacks are becoming more frequent with less gaps. This man needs to be caught.
As we've heard, he's in his 20s, has dark eyes, short dark hair and of average height. Remember those sort of clenched fists? It's quite distinctive the way he was holding himself. And then there's his offending pattern, which throws up other clues. He may be involved in other nuisance crimes like stealing women's clothes from washing lines or flashing in public, that sort of thing. And remember, the attacks are often between midnight and 6 in the morning. Now, do you know anyone in his 20s, dark eyes, dark short hair, out and about at that time in that area? And he seems to know this patch, St Neots, pretty well. I can't believe that someone around St Neots doesn't know or have a suspicion about who this man is. Please call us, free of course, 0500 600 600, or you can make a local rate call to the incident room on 0845 456 4564. Or call Crime Stoppers on this or on any case. They've got people there tonight waiting for your call on 0800 555 111.
Police in Islington, North London, are looking for 2 sex offenders who tried to rape a young mum on the last Saturday before Christmas. She got a babysitter so she could have a night out with her friends, but it ended with 2 men trailing her on the way home.
I was a very bubbly person, always out with the kids every night after school, at the park, go out on weekends with my friends, have a good giggle and go home, very bubbly and just outgoing. I felt fine about walking home. I've done it so many times from the market of an evening. Never felt funny about walking home. It's always just done it every weekend. I heard some people behind me and I felt fine until they kicked my legs from under me and dragged me into the park. I just didn't want to lie there and take everything that they were going to give, so I thought I'm just going to fight back. There was a white guy who was quite bolshy. He was the bully. He was pushing me around a bit. He was the main one. The black guy just pushed me a little bit into the park and then he just stood there staring at me. I was really angry. I just kept thinking to myself, I'd rather be dead than you do anything to me. And that was my attitude. If you're going to do something, kill me, because I don't want to be here after. I just hate him. Can't even take my children to the park anymore.
It was a terrifying ordeal for that woman. This is Detective Inspector Richard Bryars. Richard, let's go back to the beginning. She was at a pub called the Elbow Room in Chapel Market part of Islington.
That's right, Fiona.
What time did she leave, do you think?
She left roughly between 1:30 a.m.
and 3:30 a.m. on the morning of the 19th of December 2004.
Let's just trace the route she took as she left there. She left the Elbow Rooms, there we can see it there, and then where did she go from there?
She walked down Chapel Market to the end of the market. She then turned right into Penton Street.
Which in fact takes her past the police station, doesn't it?
It does indeed, yes, it does indeed. She then crossed the road and she continued her journey along Barnsbury Road towards Barnard Park.
And there we go, into Barnard Park there. Tell us about the two men. First of all, tell us about the white man. What do you know about him?
Yes, the white man is aged roughly between 18 to 20 years of age, medium build. He's got brown, mousy type hair, quite spiky. One distinctive feature about him was that he had a silver ring on his right thumb.
What about the black guy?
The black man, we do have a photograph of him. We can see on the screen here. He's quite distinctive. He's about 6 foot, a little bit younger, about 18 years of age. He's got cornrow type hair, black in colour at the time of the offence. And he's quite distinctive insofar as he's got a very pointed nose.
And he had a diamond stud, didn't he? In one of his
indeed.
ears,
He had a diamond stud in his left ear, yes.
Now he may have thought better of it, mightn't he? Because he didn't actually take part in the attempted rape once they were in Barnard Park. He kind of pushed her in there and then he stood back. What can you say to him tonight?
Well, I can say to him, he clearly played a lesser part in this serious attack, and I would urge him to come forward and contact us, because clearly if he played a lesser part, then he could be treated a lot more leniently.
A lot more leniently.
Yes,
and just
indeed.
very quickly, someone rang in to Crime Stopper suggesting the nicknames Jermaine or Crazy Legs. For one of the suspects, two of them we don't know. That person's got to call back.
Must phone back in. Please phone back in. Give us more information so we can act on it.
OK, well, there's a reward in this case, up to £20,000 for identification, leading to a prosecution. And what's most likely to crack this case is not so much the witnesses, though, of course, if there are any, we'd love to hear from you, but people who know who these two men are. We need to identify them tonight. 0500 600 600 or the incident room on 020 7421 0282. And if you've been a victim of crime, the victim support line can be helpful. It's 0845 30 30 900.
On the 28th of July, a year ago, Darren Whiting was part of a group that beat up Sajir Shilazasi in Hastings town centre. Mr Shilazasi went for help in a nearby bar where two men looked after him. But that wasn't the end of it. After another scuffle, Whiting and his friends came back for more, this time with a knife. Shilazasi and the men from the bar tried to run, but one fell and was stabbed by a man believed to be Whiting. Now, Whiting was arrested but jumped bail and has since disappeared.
Ricky Fleming, aka Ginger Ricky, is wanted for attempted murder. On Monday the 7th of June 2004, he walked up to his victim's car and fired 2 shots straight at him. One hit the bonnet, the other smashed the windscreen. Amazingly, the man in the car managed to reverse off at high speed and escape. Ginger Ricky is known in Peckham and Rotherhithe in South East London.
Another June anniversary, but this time for murder. Joseph Kuponipi is a key suspect for the stabbing of Gary Lodge in Harlow, Essex on the 14th of June last year. Gary died in hospital 6 months later. Kuponipi also goes by the names Michael Williams and is from Hackney. He's 25 years old this month and 5'11" and has a dragon tattoo on his left arm.
Habib Khan is suspected of leading a multi-million-pound organisation supplying heroin from Scarborough up to Newcastle. He has links in Teesside, Bradford and the South East. He might change his appearance by growing a beard and is likely to be using false identities for himself and his family. If you know any of that quartet, 0500 600 600.
You don't see many of these. In fact, there are only 85 in the whole country. It's a Range Rover, but it's in Atlantis blue. That's what makes it so rare. And we're hoping seeing this tonight is going to help someone remember a night back in March when one, just like this, very much this colour, was involved in a fatal hit and run. Thomas Sippledow was cycling home down the Cromwell Road in West London one night back in March when he was knocked down off his bike. He died almost instantly and the Range Rover didn't stop. This is Police Sergeant John Payton and Thomas's wife, Rosa Biagio. John, he must have known, or she, whoever was driving that Range Rover, that they'd hit Thomas because the impact was terrible. I mean, these are bits that came off the Range Rover.
Indeed. The
The impact was quite substantial. Thomas was thrown from his bike and the driver must have known that they'd had a collision, and they've failed to stop, failed even to try and help Thomas.
Now, viewers are going to ask reasonably, if there are only 85 of these vehicles, they're so unusual, why haven't you traced them all?
Well, they're registered from the north of Scotland right down to the southwest of England, and it takes time to check all of these vehicles. And even if we do find, and even when we do find the vehicle that's involved, we need to know who was driving it at the time.
Rosa, I'm so sorry to meet you under these circumstances. Awful for you. How did you first hear about this?
Well, I tried to phone him, and then I was told that he had been killed in an accident. So that was it.
And how much difference has it made to you and your ability to cope with this, that whoever did it just drove on?
Well, I feel devastated. I think it is amazing that a person who hit a cyclist and then just run away without stopping with any remorse or whatsoever, and thinking that she or he will get away with it. It's devastating.
Thomas, I know you've already had some calls on this. You've had one or two anonymous ones suggesting, I think, one or two particular individuals. You're going to have a lot of work cut out on this. I think there's some evidence that whoever was driving quite erratically. Is that right?
Well, that's right. Witnesses who were on the Cromwell Road prior to the time of the accident say that they saw the Range Rover driving down the Cromwell Road erratically, swapping from lane to lane, undertaking, and also driving at speed.
Now, this colour, it is very unusual. I should say, I think that the Duke of Edinburgh had a car like this. I take it he's not in the frame. You've sorted that vehicle out. But you need to know from viewers what everyone who's got one of these Range Rovers to contact you, to ring us in tonight?
Well, we are at the moment trying to trace all the owners of these vehicles to have a look at them, but we're only about halfway through at the moment. So I would appeal to anybody who's got a colour Atlantis blue to let us know, if you haven't already been seen, let us know where the vehicle is.
And of course somebody must have repaired the damage, and must have repaired bits.
Well, that's right. I mean, that's the indicator lens. We've got bits of the car from below the headlamp assembly. They must have been repaired, and it must have been resprayed as well in the right colour.
Rosa, I hope we, or at least our viewers, can do something for you tonight. Let's find out. Please give us a call if you can, 0500 600 600, or ring the instant room on 020 7388 6806.
We've had a steady flow of calls on all jobs, but in particular the Shawn Brown murder. It's certainly a case of quality and not quantity. We've had several names put forward for those attackers, including some names that have already appeared in the investigation so far. Very encouraging stuff. Fiona.
You can find details of all tonight's cases on our website at bbc.co.uk/crime, and all the instrument numbers are on CFAX on page 61. Our phone lines are open till midnight tonight. If you can't get through, from 7:30 until midnight tomorrow. And Crime Watch next month is on Wednesday, July the 13th.
We are back after the news in about 40 minutes with the Crime Watch update. Later, I think in Wales tonight. Remember, the crimes we cover, though, thankfully are very rare, so don't have nightmares. Sleep well. For now, good night.
Good night.